Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today on a little gluten-free cooking adventure. Both of the desserts I'm making are pecans. I wanted to try to do a brownie pecan bite. That's one of them that we're going to be making. The other thing we're going to be making is a straight up pecan pie. Hold on, stick around, and of course you can make this without going gluten-free, but I'm going to show you a gluten-free option because that's what we do here, and also because those are the ingredients we have. So it's actually really simple. Your bases are the only thing you really need to worry about. Well, also besides your regular cooking ingredients, just to make sure that they're gluten-free. But I have actually never tried this before, so this is going to be kind of like a test for me. And so I wanted to show you, it says 2 sticks. This will make 1 pie crust. So it says 2 sticks of cold butter and then 4 to 6 tablespoons of cold water. So what I wanted to let you know is that you can either freeze your butter or you can just use from the cold state. And what you want to do is you want to use it as cold as possible. And again, if you freeze it, it's a little bit better. And then just grate it. When you grate it, you know how it says when you make pie crust that you should put things into a pea-sized state? Well, I can't think of any better way to get your butter all nice and little pieces than to do it this way. And again, like I said, if you put it in the freezer first, I used to keep butter in the freezer and it was much better because as you can see, my finger, just the heat of my finger, and I just took them out of the fridge, is melting the stick. So in a second, it's going to get really yucky and messy. But I kind of wanted just to show you what it looks like for the first stick. And then we'll go on and I'll grate it, and because you don't need to see me grate both things of butter. And just watch your fingers and see how I just use the wrapper to help out. And you know what? If you get down to these little teeny tiny bits and they're not little, it's fine because that's it. I mean, that's all you've got. Now look at that. Look at how small that is. Isn't that amazing? And again, the best way to do it is if you put your butter in the freezer first. However, I forgot to do it. I haven't kept butter in the freezer for a while because I haven't made pie crust in a while. And then I'm just going to use this to get it out. And we're going to grate the next set. So I'll be back. So I have already added the flour mixture to the butter. And now I'm just going to start kind of incorporating it together a little bit better before I add the cold water. And again, this particular package says 4 to 6 tablespoons of cold water. And Pampered Chef makes 2. I don't know if you've seen them. They're push-up. You can use for dry, you can use it for wet. The good thing about the Pampered Chef, it comes in the 2-cup size and a 1-cup size, is that it actually has teaspoons and tablespoons already marked on it. So I like that one tool is so versatile. And now we're just going to start putting some water. See how quickly that went? I mean, obviously I probably sped through this part, but it goes together so much quickly. If you grate it first, it's so much quicker. What I'm going to do is I actually just poured in about, because I put 6 tablespoons in here, so I put in about 2.5 tablespoons of water. And I'm just going to mix this in just a little bit, and I already know that's not enough. Now what I do want to tell you from experience from previously is that you do not want to, overmix, and I just got it all over myself. The next steps that it says is to combine it all together, then to make it into 2 discs. So what this 1 pie crust recipe does is it makes 1 pie, but that means top and bottom. However, since we are not making a top and bottom pie, we are going to have an extra pie crust left over, and I may just save that and make a pumpkin pie. But we already have now. We're going to have 2 big desserts. Last night now look at this. Now if you keep incorporating it and just pushing down, it actually does meld together. This is actually really nice. once it's together, once you've got the butter and the water in, it's actually really, I don't feel the graininess that I felt before. So it'll have to be a taste in the end to see how it is. But I can also feel the moisture of the butter coming out. So what it does is it says to divide it in half, wrap it in saran wrap, and then place it in the fridge for 15 minutes. So while that's in the fridge for 15 minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and make my box mix brownie mix. And I only have, it's only for like a 9x9, so I'm gonna have to cut my ingredients in half to make this. And then, because both of them have to bake for a little bit before we can finish them off. So let me put this in the oven. When I'm ready to roll it back out and make the pie crust and everything else, I'll bring you back in. So I'm making the brownie mix, and I have just followed the brownie mix instructions and for what it needs. So I keep making a mess. It requires 2 eggs, half a cup of softened butter, and then 2 tablespoons of water. So as you may have noticed, I just wiped out the previous bowl because it's the same ingredients that was in there, and there's no sense in washing it since it's the same ingredients. Now I will have to wash this bowl for when I make the actual pecan stuff that goes in it. However, what I wanted to say real quick is that these brownies are going to go in 350 for 15 minutes only. At the time of 15 minutes, I'm going to take it out, let it cool. While it is cooling, I'm going to roll out the pie crust, put the pie crust in the pan, and then that is going to go into the oven for 10 minutes. And really, you're just blind baking it just a little because it's going to take 45 minutes or so to an hour to cook. So that's made. My pan is greased, and like I said, it's a 9x9. You could use an 8x8 just depending on the thickness, which is gluten-free, is a whole new experience. So we're just having lots of experiences together, people, and that's okay because you can learn from my mistakes. You can possibly learn for yourself how something may taste before you even, go to the market and get it. What I can tell you is that the reason I stuck with this brownie mix, and it's by Nature's Promise, is that when I went to I was at my local grocery store. Now, if you go to Walmart, it's going to be cheaper. I didn't get all the butter mixed in. It is going to be cheaper. You're going to find a better deal. And usually you can find, and I forget, it's a brand name, but usually that's where I like to get my gluten-free cake mix and brownie mix because it's by a name brand, someone who actually makes cakes and that all the time. Just like Snyder, they make the best gluten-free pretzels ever. So sometimes the people who have been making those products the longest really are the best ones still to be making, the mixes. However, again, since I wasn't able to get to Walmart, I picked up a brownie mix. And the brownie mix is by, I believe, oh my goodness, it was still by King Arthur, but I think it was pretty expensive. And then I saw this brand, and it only does, now the King Arthur does the 13x9. This only does like a 9x9, 8x8 size. So of course it's going to be cheaper, but still when you added 2 boxes of these to the King Arthur brand, it was still cheaper. So I'm going to try these and we'll see if it works. Again, I'd prefer what I can get from Walmart, but I wasn't there. So we're going to stick this in, bake it for 15 minutes. When it comes out, you don't need to see me rolling out the pie crust. All I'm going to do is I'm going to use some gluten-free flour by Pillsbury and use that on here, roll it out, throw it into my pie pan, and then that's going to blind bake for 10 minutes. Then once that's done, I'm going to cool both the brownie mix and the pie crust mix, mix up all the fillings all at the same time. That way I can cook both of them at the same time. The brownie mix, the pecan pie brownie mix is going to take less time, but I just wanted to let you know what was going on. So I'll be back. In the meantime, I'm probably going to take a lunch. So until next time, you have fun. So we have the brownie part done. This is the pie crust that's blind baked. It's funny, I showed you the pie crust first. The brownie mix, you again just want to, so that it just starts forming a crust, and then you want to stop baking it. So it's 15 minutes pre-bake for the brownie, 10 minutes pre-bake for, sorry for the shaking guys, for the pie crust. Now all you want to do, well, is you want to crack 3 eggs. I know, I just did a cardinal sin with those eggs. I cracked them all in the same dish, and you shouldn't. You should always crack them into a separate dish and then incorporate them, because you never know if one of them is going to be bad or what the case may be. So, and then you just want to whisk that up really well and then add the rest of your ingredients. So to that, we're going to add a few things. We're going to add some salt. And it's about a pinch, a dash, just do like that. And I just use the pink Mediterranean sea salt. And then you're going to use sorry, I'm trying to look for my ingredients. And I don't think that what you're going to do is you're going to use 3/4 of a cup plus 2 tablespoons. So I was able to, because I have the Pampered Chef, that's how I was able to measure the whole thing. So I'm just going to pour this all in. And this is just corn syrup. The light corn syrup, not the dark. Although I think other people have used dark, and that's fine. The next recipe I'm using now this one is just for the pecan pie. This one just straight up uses regular corn syrup. But for the one I'm putting over the brownie, I'm actually putting maple syrup. And then you're just going to use 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar with 2 cups of pecans. Now you could use these, you could leave these whole, you could crush them up, you could do whatever. I like to have crushed bits and then a couple bigger bites. I do not like them to be in the half whole state. When I get this mixed up, I am not going to add it to my pie crust yet, because I want to cook both of them in the oven at the same time. It's 350 degrees. So if if you turned your oven off for any reason, you need to turn it back on to 350. And then I'm just gonna put 3/4 of a cup in here. Yeah, that works. So throw that in there. So we have, like I said, we have 3 beaten eggs in there. We have 3/4 of a cup of Karo syrup plus 2 tablespoons. We now have 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. You saw me put the salt in. You also saw me put 2 pecans, 2 cups of crushed pecans in. And then to that, you're going to add 3 tablespoons of melted butter. Now, what you do want to be careful is that you don't put this directly on the eggs, or you will go ahead and cook your eggs and you'll have scrambled eggs instead of what you want. So let's go ahead and put that all in there. And then let's just stir that all in. And I'm not going to pour this in the container in the pie just yet. I'm going to go ahead and make the other for the brownie mix first, because I don't want to put them both. I don't want to put it in I want to put both of them in at the same time. Sorry, my words aren't even doing well. So let's put that off to the side. I still have to chop a cup of pecans. So let's go ahead and pour a cup of pecans in here, give or take. And then you can chop them, you can use your hands, you can use a chopper. Really, it's whatever is easier for you. Okay, so here is 1 cup of crushed. So let's go ahead and pour that in here. And then we're just going to go ahead and mix everything else into this container, because I don't really need a lot of ingredients. So we're just going to use this. And excuse the mess. All right, so to that we want to add 1 egg beaten. All right, so as I said, this is going to require 1/2 cup of maple syrup. This one is also not opened. Forgot I had it. So let's go ahead and do 1/2 cup. Pour that on top. Push that out. Grab my little stir from the other pie and just scrape that off a little bit. And then we're going to need 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and I am going to just estimate because I don't want to get another measuring utensil out. So that's probably about 1/4 cup. And then you're also going to need, and I forgot to get, you're going to need about 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, but I always put more, so go ahead and put a teaspoon. And then go ahead and add about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And again, I'm estimating, so I do that quite often. And then the last thing before I finish, I need about 1/8 cup of flour. This will help so it doesn't completely soak in to the mixture. So we now have 1 scrambled egg, about 1/8 cup of gluten-free flour. We have 1/2 cup of maple syrup, 1/4 cup of brown sugar, about a teaspoon of vanilla, a little bit of salt, and then 1 cup of pecans. So I do need a tablespoon of whipping cream for the brownies, and I thought I did, but I wasn't sure. So I just had to think about it. You know, sometimes when you're in the middle of doing something, you're like, oh yeah, I remember the recipe. And then if you're talking about it and you're not telling someone specifically, like if someone's not in front of you, sometimes, well, I can actually forget what I'm doing. So I have to stop and rethink and do this again. Okay, so here's the fun part. So remember, our oven is on 350. It is still warm actually on the bottom of this pan. And I don't want to put it straight onto my cupboard. So we're going to take this one. This is the one for our brownie mix. And just pour it over top. Now again, you can double this recipe and do this for a 9 by 13. And I'm going to throw this over here. Just spread that out. Make sure it's pretty even. Make sure that oh, look, did you see what I did? I just picked up the brownie with it. I did not want to do that at all. And then the last thing you want to do is then fill the pie crust. Just throw that in there. That's a lot of pecans. Like, I'm thinking maybe I'm missing an ingredient in this. Well, we'll find out after, which if there's an ingredient missing when I taste this later, I will let you know, and I will add the ingredient that you're supposed to put in there. But it looks good, but it is very thick. So I may have put maybe too many pecans in it, but I don't know. You can't really have too many pecans. But I just did it again. So you have to be very careful. The reason you blind bake this is that because the liquid will actually start taking up the bottom, and you do not want that. So they're gonna go in the oven for, this will take about 45 minutes to an hour. Look at that, that's a pie crust. We're gonna be in trouble, people. So the pie will take 45 to an hour. What you wanna do is the brownie is gonna take about 25 to 35. So at 25, you wanna look at it, make sure it's okay. And then figure out if you need to put it in there for 10 more minutes or the length of time. And then you might want to cover the edges of your pie so that way it doesn't burn. So the next time I see you again, guys, is when we will do a taste testing of what these taste like. So I'll see you soon. Bye. So I'm making my coffee, and as you can see, I have already had the pie and the brownie. What I want to say, because I was late in getting this last portion of the video done, I just wanted to wrap up. Obviously, but they both taste good. I wanted to just tell you kind of how they taste. Sorry. And then that's it. So The pie is, as you can see, pretty thick with pecans. It is a little, it's not as sweet as the traditional pecan pie, which I really like because sometimes the original pecan pie was too sweet. Now, I'm not saying this isn't sweet. You're still gonna need like a glass of milk. Like I said, I'm brewing coffee right now, in order for the pie that we talked about. Now, what I can tell you is that this pie crust from, I think it was King Arthur, is really good. So it is nice and flaky, crumbly. There isn't really a lot of taste to it, but you could probably add extra things to it to make it tasty. You could use this pie crust for like a quiche or lots of things. I'm very excited about this pie crust. It is a little expensive. It does make two. It either makes one pie, whole pie, like an apple pie with its pie crust and top, or it makes two pies like a pecan or a pumpkin pie with just the bases. And then this brownie, oh my goodness, guys, I have to tell you that this is probably one of the best brownies I've ever eaten. What I can tell you is that it is very hard to get out because it like falls apart. The pecans want to do their own thing. The brownie wants to do its own thing. But you know what? When you taste it, you are not going to care. So that brownie base, because the pecan filling has oozed through it, so good. So I hope you try these recipes. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And then I hope you're blessed and you are a blessing to someone else today. Until I see you again next time, have a wonderful day and God bless.